When music gets hard, come see Professor Lead You.
Hey guys, I'm Professor Lead Youth, and today we'll be discussing time signatures and half of the circle of fifths. We'll learn the other half another time in class. So, to get started with time signatures, we'll start with the time signature 3-4. And the goal is to figure out, is this a simple time signature or a compound? Simple basically means if you can split up the beats evenly into two, it means it's simple. And for compound, it would be if you can subdivide them equally into three parts. I know it sounds confusing, but basically, if we were to write out, because we know this is three beats in a measure, and the quarter note gets the beat, because 4 is a quarter note, or 1/4, I should say, is a quarter note. Anyway, so if we were to write out 3 quarter notes, because it says 3 notes in a measure, or 3 beats in a measure, 3 beats in a measure, what if we were to break them up? We could break them each up into eighth notes, which technically those can be connected. So each one gets 2 eighth notes. So it breaks down smaller into 2 even notes. So each note can break down to 2 even notes. That's why it's called simple. I know that's a little confusing. Hopefully you guys already went over it, so hopefully some of this is jogging your memory. If not, you're gonna have to look somewhere else for a more in-depth explanation of this, or just let me know and I can always make another video for you. Anyway, so we got that part down. Next one, let's say we have 6/8. Now we have to figure out, is that simple or compound? Well, let's see. It says 6 beats in a measure, and the eighth note gets the beat. So let's draw 6 eighth notes. Wow, these are some jankety eighth notes. I love it. And 6. Okay, well, if we were to group these together, we could put these 3 together and these 3 together. That looks pretty familiar, I would assume, to at least music people anyway. If you're not that familiar with music, maybe not. Anyway, but the point is, instead of breaking them down like we would with these, we didn't need to put them together. You can break them down easier to figure out that they're 2, that they can split into 2 equal parts. But for these, for each eighth note, if you just start combining the eighth notes, you find that you have 2 groups of 3. So it splits into 3 equal pieces, which would make it a compound time signature. So you see, kind of looking the difference, this you'd be more breaking down into 2, into each note, divide each note into 2 equal parts, whereas this would be you take 3 notes and you can combine them. Again, hopefully it's review, so you're not looking at the video going, you're a crazy person. Anyway, so hopefully it makes some sense. The next part of this is to figure out if it's a duple, a triple, or a quadruple time signature. And really, this part's a lot easier because for the simple, if you want to figure out if it's duple, triple, or quadruple, which duple is 2, triple's 3, and quadruple is 4, is it a 2, 3, or 4 time signature? And in this case, you'd look at the top part. 3 there, so that would be a triple. It's going to have to be something you just memorize. There's not much more philosophy, so to speak, behind it, or theory, I should say. I know there is a little bit, but unfortunately I'm not very educated in that portion of it yet. But anyway, so essentially the top number shows that it'd be triple. For something like a compound time signature, you would see how many groups did you just make. So you know that these are split up into three parts. But essentially, in 6/8, we just made 2 groups. So that would be a duple for 2 duple. If it was, I'm trying to think of another one, 9/8, and you had 9 eighth notes spread out, and I'm just going to make them groups of 3 already instead of, really blowing time. So basically we have our 3 groups of eighth notes, so that's our 9 eighth notes. And then we group them so we know it's a compound. And then it would be a triple instead of a duple because there's 3 groups here. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. Hopefully not too confusing. Anyway, I guess we'll go over another simple one real quick just in case. So another common one would be something like 2/4. So 2 beats in a measure, quarter note gets the beat. So 2 quarter notes. And in this case, we're not looking to really combine them because they're just quarter notes. We'd look to more break them down. How can we break them down? They each are an eighth note, which connect. So the fact that we broke them down into 2 equal parts makes it a simple type time signature. And since the top number is 2, that will be duple. And the other reasoning for that as well is you just made 2 groups of eighth notes. Like over here, the reason why this is triple is because you made 3 groups of eighth notes. So it all has a basic reasoning for it, just the more in-depth reasoning I don't quite know. Anyway, so hopefully this stuff kind of makes sense. So that's about it for the rhythm stuff currently. We'll go more into depth for the bigger time signatures, but for right now that's the basics. The last part I want to go over is the circle of fifths, or the sharp side of the circle of fifths. So I'm going to draw a really terrible circle. There we go. Sweet. Alright, so the sharp side is this right side. At the top, we'll start with C. That's going to have to be something you remember. C will have nothing in its key signature, no sharps, no flats, it's just the key of C has nothing. So it's going to be something you're definitely going to have to remember. The rest of this, you can start to figure out rather easily. What I like to do is there's a lot of different ways to learn the circle of fifths, but I have found that the easiest way is to remember that the next spot over, the next letter over will have 1 sharp. The one after that will have 2 sharps. The next one, just for simplicity, I'm going to put 3, but that means 3 sharps. This will be 4 sharps, 5 sharps, 6 sharps, 7 sharps. And the highest we'll go for now is 7 sharps. So once you have that down, now hopefully you guys know your order of sharps. If not, it's basically, it would be, now I gotta think about it. F, C, G, D, A, E, and B. That's your order of sharps. So now, if you only have 1 sharp here, what sharp is it? It'd be F sharp. Okay, so now the trick for figuring out the key, since we know that's just F sharp, would be to go a half step above the letter F sharp, which would be G. So we'd know the key of G has 1 sharp in it, which turns out to be F sharp. Hopefully I didn't go too quick for you guys, but that's the gist of it. So the rest of this is going to be basically that same premise. For this next one, we have 2 sharps. So we have F sharp and C sharp. So you take the last sharp that we're working with here. So because we've already done F, we know it's G. So now we're going to take C sharp, since this includes F and C sharp. You start at C sharp, you go up a half step, takes you to D. So the key of D major has 2 sharps in it, which is F and C. Hopefully you guys are starting to see the pattern. See the pattern. So now with 3 sharps, come over here, 3 sharps, that would be G sharp. Half step above G sharp would be A. So A has 3 sharps. For 4 sharps, you come over to the 4th sharp, which would be D sharp. D sharp, go half a step up, that would be E sharp. So the key of E sharp has, the key of E has 4 sharps. Then for 5 sharps, come over to the 5th sharp, that would be A. So what's a half step up from A sharp? That would be B. Hopefully you guys are seeing the pattern a little bit better now. This is where it's going to start getting a little bit more complicated, just a little extra thinking, so to speak. And you can get tripped up pretty easy. But basically, so 6 sharps, what's a 6 sharp? That would be E. E sharp up, if you go from E sharp up in half step, that would be F. So you're like, oh, okay, the answer's F. The problem is, we said there's 6 sharps here. And if we come up here to get to E sharp, you already passed F sharp, which means your key won't be F, your key's going to be F sharp, because it's already sharp in your key signature, because there's already 6 sharps. And let's just put them closer together. 6 sharps for that. Okay, so now the same thing is going to kind of happen with the 7 sharps. For the 7th sharp, what's a 7 sharp? That would be B. What's a half step up from B? Would be C. The problem is, already in our key signature, since it contains all the letters and they're all sharp, C is already in here. And C is already sharp because it shows all of them are sharp. So instead of the key being C, it'd be the key of C sharp. So as of now, for the sharp side, these are the two you're going to have to be concerned about, making sure they're the key of C sharp and the key of F sharp. The rest of these are just natural, just G, D, A, E, and B. So again, hopefully that was basic review. In the next video, we'll discuss the flat side of it, and some of these are going to overlap down here in the bottom, because that's just how music is, and so far music theory is great, and yeah, I'm not sarcastic at all. Anyway, so hopefully you guys understood that. If you need any more explanation, let me know, and have fun studying.